Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2 of Lyrical Outlook. This episode will be about Prince and the Revolution song When Doves Cry. I'm sorry about that last video that I uploaded. This is my first video on YouTube, so when I uploaded it, I didn't realize that I had the wrong screen size. I'm so used to posting on TikTok and Instagram that I didn't even realize that you're supposed to turn your phone. So I apologize for that and that buzz in the background. But I hope that you still enjoyed the video. In this video, what I do is I take a song and a verse that I like from the song and I turn it into a more motivational perspective of what feeling I get from the song. Like I said in the last video, the artist that wrote the song probably has a different meaning for it, but I'm just doing it from my perspective. So I hope that you enjoy this video and stay tuned. I'm gonna throw in a fun fact about Prince really quick. Okay, so he was an opener for Rick James back in 1980 on the Fire It Up tour, and Rick James could not stand Prince. They said that they used to pull the cord on each other, they've gotten into arguments, and they almost fought a few times. Rick James didn't like the fact that Prince kind of stole some of his moves during the tour and some of the things that he used to say. So Rick James would get so mad because he's like, I like Prince's work, I like, him as an artist, but I can't stand him as a person. Prince opened up for Rick James, and look at how big Prince has become, and he has his own style and his own swag, and to know that he was playing with Rick James like that just to piss him off is always funny to me. So I just wanted to throw that in there. So this video is going to be about breaking generational curses and having some of the same patterns as our parents and our ancestors. And I'm getting that from Prince's song When Doves Cry. The verse that comes to mind is when he says, maybe I'm just like my father, too bold. Maybe you're just like my mother, she's never satisfied. Why do we scream at each other? This is what it sounds like when doves cry. Doves represent peace, love, harmony, purity, unity, spiritual holiness. And if a dove is crying, to me, you're losing your innocence. The purity is gone. That innocence that you have as a child is no longer pure. And that's why I got generational curses from that, because you should have a happy childhood. You should be enjoying being a kid and growing up. And a lot of the hurt and pain that we get from our family strips us away from that innocence that we should have growing up as a child. And we're holding on to some of those parental wounds and having a hard time forgiving it and bringing it along with us in relationships that we have. And to me, that's when we take the patterns on from our family members. Like with his mother and his father, he feels like as he got older, he took some of the traits from his father and some of the traits from his mother, and with his relationship, he's treating his woman a certain way because of how he grew up and the traumas and the past pain that has followed him along in his life. So what I want to talk about in this video is breaking the chains and changing our patterns as we get older, and not really realizing how many patterns and traits and traditions we've taken from our parents without even realizing that sometimes we are using that unhealed pain and trauma in our relationships with our kids, with our friendships, without even knowing that we have some of those same, that we're doing the same thing as our parents and ancestors. And one thing that a lot of us do when we're younger, we always say, like, I'm not gonna be like my mom, or I don't like when my mom does this, so I'm not gonna be like that when I get older. And then you get older and you find yourself doing the same thing. Like, a lot of the time on Sundays, it's like that was always our cleaning day. So I knew when my mom was downstairs blasting music that I was gonna smell bleach, that I was gonna see candles and all that stuff, because I knew she was cleaning that day. And I'd be like, dang, she's loud down there or whatever when I was a teenager. And now I find myself on Sundays cleaning. You know, it could be something as simple as that. But there's also the things that can happen that are more than that, like abuse and unemotional relationships and so many other things that are passed down that we don't realize that we have taken on. And we hear so many stories about our grandparents and our great grandparents that happened in the past, and you hear it as a story, but when you look at yourself and reflect on yourself, sometimes you're like, dang, I kind of do that too, or I follow that same tradition, I follow that same pattern, I have that same trait. Another thing that we tend to do is we hold on to people, or we surround ourselves with people that are similar to the type of treatment that we're used to. Like, if we grew up in a home that was unemotional, then usually we'll end up surrounding ourselves with unemotional people. Just like if you see one of your parents or your grandparents or someone that you know that you're close to that have been in abusive relationships, or that is an alcoholic or has addictions, we tend to follow some of those same patterns if we don't heal as we're growing into an adult. And it's hard as a child working through the childhood wound. So when you get into adulthood, it's such a rush to become an adult, and then we have so many responsibilities that we forget about our emotions. We forget about that pain that we have inside, and we end up projecting a lot of that hurt onto other people without even knowing that we're doing so. The impact of our family has a huge role in every relationship that we have in our life. And a lot of the time, instead of working through the emotions, we use other things to cope with the pain. And a lot of people think that breaking generational curses and patterns are just abuse, trauma, pain, and that's not necessarily true. It could be something else, like working a 9-to-5 job. Your parents are, really into corporate business, and maybe you want to be an artist, or you want to be a musician, or be a TikTok influencer, or an influencer on any social media, and they're not used to seeing that type of thing being successful. So a lot of the ways that they feel about it, they'll tell you, like, I don't think that's gonna work, because they haven't tried it themselves. So that's another pattern that you could pass on. It can also be other things, like growing up poor. You didn't have money to buy things at a young age, so as you get older, you are addicted to shopping, you are addicted to always having food, you're addicted to making sure that you eat and you overeat sometimes because maybe when you were a kid you didn't have the money to eat what you wanted, or your parents didn't have the money to buy you Christmas presents or whatever tradition that you follow. You weren't able to do a lot of what other kids were doing because you didn't have the money. And we follow a poor man's mindset when we grew up poor because we want to make sure that we don't ever not have food again or not have clothes again. And that's another generational thing that we end up, that we don't even realize that we're bringing along with us subconsciously. It took me a long time to get to the point where I was comfortable doing a self-reflection with myself and realize some of the things that I was doing that were self-sabotaging. A lot of the time it's being passed down for years, right? And as each generation comes, we take that pain with us and we push it down deep into our hearts, deep into our souls, not even realizing that that pain is there. And once we start bringing up our emotions and working through our emotions, we realize, like, dang, why am I like that? What made me turn into this type of person? What is unhealed in me that makes me react this way? What do I need to change? And to even ask yourself how to change, how to get to that point takes a lot of work. So I understand why so many people out here are projecting so much hate, hurt, and pain, and that's because it's really hard to work through your emotions, and sometimes we'll get there, but continuously working through those emotions and changing the patterns is difficult. So we all know that a lot of people don't like change, and when you get, like we hear as a kid, set in your ways, then you don't really change for the rest of your life. And a lot of the past failures or the things that our parents or our ancestors tried to change as they were growing up and they failed at it, or it didn't work out the way that they planned, they stopped reaching for it. So when it gets to us, it's really up to the next generation to break the chains of where that pattern stopped. And I noticed that each generation got a little closer, but they didn't keep pushing because of, the fear of what's going to happen next and how things are going to turn out. And it really takes you to change those patterns. If you find something in your family that is being passed down from maternal, paternal, whichever side of the family it is, it's kind of up to you to change those patterns and work through that so that you know what you don't want to do. It's definitely not easy breaking the patterns of the family, and sometimes that can turn you into the black sheep, or it can make some of the best relationships that you've had with people toxic, or even you end up losing friends and family that you were close to because you don't want to be a part of that chain anymore. And it's just not hard to heal those wounds, because not only do you have to work through your emotions, you also have to deal with people feeling like you changed as a person, and they can't treat you the same way that they used to anymore because you have now grown from that, and it can get lonely. It's a difficult process, and that's why so many people don't get through it, because you can lose so much, but you gain so much wisdom, and you'll know that your kids won't carry that pain anymore. And I feel like that is worth it more than keep passing down that hurt. A lot of the time we forget that we still have that wounded child inside of us that wants to have fun, that still wants to do a lot of childlike things as we get older. And we tend to forget to let them out to play sometimes, and we're like, oh, we're adult, that's some childish games. But really our inner child is screaming for us to have fun, screaming for us to do something that we're passionate about, because they miss that side of us that was creative, that was fun, that used to enjoy being outside. We still want to do stuff like that, but we cut off that inner child as we get older, because we feel like we're being childlike. But it should be safe to still do some of those childlike things, because that's feeding our inner soul. And if we don't do that inner work with our inner child and healing a lot of the childhood wounds, then we hide our childlike playfulness and fun, because we lost some of our innocence as a kid. So bringing back those passions, those things that you found were fun, those ideas that you had that were out of the box that other people thought were weird when you were younger, bring those things back. Start having fun again. Start doing little things, watching cartoons, painting, singing like you used to do. Start doing things that you thought were fun, because that will make you start feeling like you can be yourself again, and without worrying about what other people think about, without worrying about what other people feel about how you're acting. At least you are growing as a person within, and that should be okay. Nothing should be wrong with having a little fun at times, as long as you are taking care of responsibility as an adult. And I feel like we lose, once we lose that innocence as a child, or some type of trauma happened, something that shook our world up as we got older, we just cut off the fun in our life, and that's what would bring us back alive a lot of the times. And you see the sadness in your parents sometimes, and other people in your family, and you're like, why are they so angry or so negative with life? And it's because they're not bringing those old things that make them happy out anymore. They have closed it off, and they're so deep down and pushed away that they don't want to be open to it anymore. And like I said, they are set in their ways now, and they feel like there's no need for change, because this is how things have been for years, or this is what I'm used to, so why change? And changing is harder than staying the same. So if you want to live easier, it's going to hurt more in the long run. And as you get older, you're going to look back and be like, why didn't I do these things? Why didn't I try this when I had the chance, when I had the time? So it's better to start doing things that you want to do now while you have the chance, before it's too late. Sometimes we continue to hold on to the pain of what our parents did to us or someone did to us in our family, and we hold on to that pain without forgiveness. And not saying that what they did was okay or that we should accept that type of behavior, but the only way to move past it is forgiving them and forgiving yourself. That doesn't mean that you have to talk to them, that doesn't mean you have to be around them all the time, but in order to get rid of that hurt and pain that you have inside, you have to forgive yourself for everything that happened so that you can move on and heal from all of that past hurt. I found that talking to my parents about some of the things that I feel that hurt me, or even talking to them about what hurt them as a kid, or what pain and some of the experiences that they had in relationships, and you start to learn that your parents were hurt in different ways just like you were, and not every parent means to hurt you in a certain way and make you feel pain. They're just holding on to the past, so they are holding on to those wounds and projecting that same hurt, and that's how those same patterns, like I said, keep getting passed down, because no one is healing or breaking the cycle of it all. And that's where the forgiveness comes in, because once you forgive, you can start treating people differently and not continue that train of pain along the family line anymore. And your kids can grow up with those hugs and those kisses that you never gotten, that unconditional love that you never felt can start coming from you. Alright guys, that's what I get from Prince in the Revolution song When Doves Cry. I hope that you like this video. Please like and subscribe if you like my content. I also write on Medium. I try to write a story for every video that I put out, so check out my page. It's Lyrical Outlook. The link is below, so feel free to check out a lot of my other content that I have. I am a writer, and I have poetry, flash fiction, and different stories. Some are with lyrical content like I'm doing here on this video, and some is just regular stories, motivational writing, and a lot of different perspectives that I have. So please check out my Medium page, and I will see you guys in the next episode.